If you guys haven't seen part 1 where I talk about turf wars, I highly recommend it. If you don't care about turf wars, check the chapters because I do have a few more things to talk about turf wars. The first one being the feel of the comic overall. I mean, I did say that it's much more focused on Korra and Asami, and so the two characters that were introduced, they were just there to move the plot along. But in terms of like the feel, it really felt like a superhero comic, like, or like a DC comic in terms of like the Batman universe. The first part that got me thinking about it was when Bolin and Mako were driving through the street and Bolin is narrating about Republic City and how it's a place rampant with crimes and everything, and I was just like, you know, that does sound like Gotham City. And so I really like that. I would presume maybe that's the feel that they were going for, the feel of Gotham City, and like we even have Tokuga, who ends up getting turned into a spirit monster, half spirit, half human sort of thing, and then he has like half of his face is like a lizard sort of thing, and it was kind of reminding me of Two-Face, but like Two-Face, if I remember, it's much more. I mean, he is cunning, but like I don't even remember Two-Face actually fights. I think he's much more of just a brains man, and he has goons and all that. I actually don't know that much about the Batman universe, by the way. I have very surface level knowledge, but that was sort of a character that I was thinking about when I first saw Tokuga's transformation. And then we have President Raiko, well, who's not a president anymore because Yuri won. And, you know, it kind of made me think like maybe, you know, he obviously has the potential to also turn into something similar of a Batman villain. Because I remember that is a plot, I think, in, was it Harley? I think it might have been. Actually, no. I think in Harley Quinn, you know, that show, I think it wasn't the president who was conspiring with Two-Face. It was Gordon. Was it? Anyways, before I get lost in the sauce of Batman, that's just the one thing I wanted to talk about. And just to repeat what I mentioned towards the end of part 1, Turf Wars, I really like the expansion of like the whole gayness and everything. Really enjoyed. But Ruins of the Empire, man. Ruins of the Empire. It is so good, dude. I love this comics so much. Spoiler warnings, in case you haven't noticed it yet, I am going to be talking about Ruins of the Empire. I've written notes about it, things that I want to talk about. So if you haven't read Ruins of the Empire, I highly recommend it. And, you know, I also highly recommend you buy the comics as well, which I do have in my Amazon shop down below if you want to go buy it and support me along the way. I will get a cut out of it, you know, it's the whole thing with the affiliate, just to let you guys know. So the first two things that I've got in the Ruins of the Empire, I'll go back on this one, but I'll say it just so I can remember, is that Kuvira has a great memory. Every time she closes her eyes, well, not every time, but when she closes her eyes and contemplate, she goes right back to her childhood, as we see more of Kuvira's childhood, you know, something that I wish that they had shown in the show, but budget cuts and everything, whatever. I had this question that asked, does or did Kuvira have O.D.D? And if you guys don't know what O.D.D is, it means Oppositional Defiant Disorder, or as I like to call it, Rebel Syndrome. Just the way that they showcase, I mean, the first thing that they showed in Kuvira's backstory is her parents finding out that she broke a vase. They're like, how could you break this vase? And Kuvira's just like, I didn't break this vase, which, you know, just from the way that Kuvira says it, and then you can kind of see her parents, like, they punished her by taking her toys away from her, and then they lock her in the room, and she's just out here fucking banging on the door and everything, and it's just like, okay, like, yeah, sure, she broke the vase. She's not confessing that she's broken the vase, but the thing that you shouldn't be doing is punishing them and taking away their toys and then fucking locking them in the room. You know, it's just like, holy shit, dude, that's not something that you should be doing. And when I say that, when I first saw Kuvira says, oh no, I didn't break anything, it reminded me of like children who would get in trouble for these sort of things, and they know that if they say the truth, they're going to get in trouble, and so they end up lying about it, even if they know that they're lying, you know, even if they know that their parents know that they're lying. It's just like, no, I'm not, I didn't do it. And again, with the way that her parents treated her and all that, I can definitely see it. Going down the list of symptoms that kids with ODD may include, right? Having temper tantrums, frequent temper tantrums, arguing with adults, refusing to do what an adult asks, always questioning rules and refusing to follow rules, so like defying authority, doing things to annoy or upset others, including adults, blaming others for the children's own misbehaviors and mistakes. I don't know why they say the child. Well, I suppose they're talking. Yeah, so like the kid would blame other people, right? Being easily annoyed by others, often having an angry attitude, speaking harshly or unkindly, and seeking revenge or being vindictive. Basically, like they end up being like violent, you know, through their anger and their temper tantrums and arguing with people, right? Defying authority and whatnot. So when Kuvira got locked up in the room by her parents, what does she do? She's like, I'll show you, and she fucking breaks the wall and runs away from the house. And it's just like, dude, I will say though, it's one thing to have a disobedient child, a child with ODD, not to say that those are the same thing, or I just want to make sure, because I was thinking about, okay, I'm a little bit everywhere with ODD, but it was making me think about like Suyin, you know? And there's a reason why Suyin has such a soft spot for Kuvira. It's because she sees herself in Kuvira, because she was a rebellious teenager. She did everything that she could to get herself in trouble, and, you know, perhaps that would get her mom's attention and whatnot. So, like, we saw a little bit of Suyin's past, but, like, there's a difference between being a rebellious teenager and then having ODD. And so, like, I was trying to figure out, like, you know, maybe Suyin or somebody else that we saw in their childhood, maybe they're like that, but just the way that they talk about Kuvira. And then when we had this one part where Suyin tells Kuvira that, hey, you need to control your violent impulses. And I'm just like, you know, maybe, you know, like Kuvira definitely is angry and she's violent. She deals things with force. And the whole reason of Kuvira in season 4 is to be a contrast to Korra, right? Because Kuvira is exactly who Korra is back in season 1, episode 1. Anyways, back to Kuvira. The next flashback we see, I believe, is her dad taking her to the Meadow Clan to just basically abandon her, right? It's just like, hey, he tells her like, oh, your temper's too much. It feels like you don't even have remorse, and it's just like, ouch, you know. And it's like, well, maybe Kuvira as a child does have remorse, and we saw later on in another flashback that she does feel sad, but she just can't convey her feelings as well as like other kids. And again, that kind of goes with like how her parents were parenting her, and that kind of just, I feel like that made her a lot worse than she should be. And then when she finally gets to the Meadow Clan and, you know, she gets taught by someone like, by Suyin, who is being much more kinder to her, much more, try to be a little bit more of a positive force in her life instead of somebody who's just like, oh, you've done a bad thing, I'm gonna punish you for it. This also shows Kuvira's attachment to Suyin as well, because she felt like Suyin was the person who never really abandoned her, even when she's being like an extreme little shit, you know, for most of her childhood. Suyin stuck around and kept her, and you know, when we saw her again in like season 3, she is like a pretty, she's a good fighter. She saved Korra's dad and everything. You know, she's inherently a good person. It's just she's doing a lot of bad things, committing a lot of crimes out here, you know? Anyways, we had this one scene where Kuvira shows up in Opal's room just to tell her to get out because it's her time to play now. And I'm just gonna be like, well, shit, you know? Like, maybe Suyin told Kuvira that, hey, you can have time to play with the dollhouse, and then Kuvira doesn't really know how to translate that specifically, so then she's just like, hey, get out, it's my time to play. And Opal, being upset at that, is just like, yo, dog, I'm fucking playing with this, why the fuck are you telling me to get out? And so Opal's argument is very sound. This is my room, this is my dollhouse, so like, you get out. And what does Kuvira do? She gets angry and she says, well, if I can't have it, you can't either. And she metal bends and crushes Opal's dollhouse. So it's that whole feeling of like seeking revenge or being vindictive. You know, if I can't have it, you can't either. And it's that feeling where her parents, her actual parents, you know, locked her up in the room, and what does she do? I'll show you! Fucking breaks the room and runs out. This flashback ties back to another scene later on where Bolin tells Kuvira that Oppo has been trying to be friends with her for most of their lives, and Kuvira tells Bolin, hey, don't believe everything your girlfriend says. But, like, nobody believes Kuvira, alright? If I could summarize this comic in 2 sentences, it would be Kuvira attempts to say the truth, nobody believes her. And then Kuvira tries to do good, but she keeps choosing violence. Anyways, after Kuvira tells Bolin to not believe everything his girlfriend says, we get that flashback, right, where she crushes Obo's metal dollhouse, and Suyin doesn't punish her, you know, she just tells Kuvira, you know, just, you know, get out, and, well, not get out, but, you know, just leave and chill out a little bit. And Oppo is mad at her mom for not punishing Kuvira, and she just blatantly says, oh, Kuvira is just a stray dog whose parents don't even want her. And, like, we see the sadness on Kuvira, because, like, yeah, she knows that her fucking parents abandoned her. Like, you didn't even say that fucking loud, Oppo. Like, fuck. But this goes back to the fact that Kuvira has a great memory, which was noted by Patar Jr. And it's just like, damn, dude, the fact that Kuvira remembers, like, if she has a great memory, right? She remembers a lot of her life, and she remembers all of the painful things that had happened in her childhood. And that's why when she hears Bolin says that Oppo was trying to be friends with her for, like, the whole her whole life and whatever, you know, Kuvira's just like, what the fuck? Bullshit! I remember what she says to me specifically. It's just like, damn, dude. But that's pretty much what I have on Kuvira's childhood. I expected there to be a little bit more of her childhood, but they gave us enough, and they gave us a really nice character development for Kuvira, so, you know, I can't really complain. Again, I love Ruins of the Empire a lot more than Turf Wars. So in other news, the Earth Kingdom was doing some experiments at their re-education camps, and Dr. Sheng had found out that there was a method that the Dai Li did in order to control the Earth Kingdom for a very long time, the whole hypnosis thing, but she figured out a new way to make it where, so like the Dai Li had a weak spot in their hypnosis, which is the people will eventually revert back to their old self, and you know, they have to have like that keyword that brings them back. But this new method that Dr. Shen made, she basically wipes out all that weak point, and like they are just mind controlled forever. They will follow Commander Guan's order at all times. No breaking, no nothing. And I really like the scene when Kuvira discovered their plans, because the whole thing with Kuvira is that she's too focused on trying to change, right? Trying to change the Earth Kingdom, that she didn't really think about the consequences. She just had these re-education camps, and she just assigned these people to do it, and like she doesn't really monitor over it. So like, you know, one of her big crimes, negligence. So when she finds out what Dr. Shen was doing, she's just over here like, what the fuck, man? I'm over here trying to take things by force, not by a machine. And I love that that's what Kuvira was mad at. I ain't having no machine doing work for me. This is bullshit. Commander Guan of the Earth Kingdom is the main antagonist of this whole thing. You know, the title of this comic is Ruins of the Empire, so this is Kuvira's empire. It's in ruins, but like there's still one part of the empire that refuses to back down, and that is Commander Guan, and that's why the crew, they need to get Kuvira out of jail. And I will say, Commander Guan, like what Kuvira mentions, actually, he's a smart man. He's a cunning man. He saw an opportunity, which was the election, right? The election's happening and all that, and he's decided that he was going to run in the election. Like, hey, if you've given me a different opportunity, a different chance, where even me, a small group of the fallen empire, can win and then take over everything that way, the legal way, hell yeah, dude. Let's fucking do it. So he runs for election, and that kind of takes me to like the whole election thing, actually, because King Wu had said right in the show that he wants to turn this into a democratic thing instead of a monarchy. But when they see the people who are going to get elected, it's like two men who looks the same, so it's like two sides of the same coin, essentially. And King Wu is just over here like, does this really matter? Like, if they vote for these people, then the Earth Kingdom will continue to stay the same. But I can't remember who said this after King Wu. Like, they had mentioned that, like, yeah, you know, like the first step might not be all that clean. It might be really messy, but eventually this will give people the way to vote for someone that they actually want. But then it's just kind of like, maybe we should start off with the first step of like letting them vote for who they actually want instead of these two old men who are just the same as each other. So when Commander Guan comes in and he signs up for the election, it's just like, great, now you've literally got three of like, you have to choose three of the lesser evil. Well, one of the lesser evil, I mean, like, Jesus Christ. But in order to fight against Commander Guan in the election, Korra had come up with a great idea, which is to get Toph to come into the whole election stuff. Toph eventually agrees with it, right, after what Wu tells her about, like, changing and all that. And when she comes back for the election, all I'm thinking about is, like, do they have Braille now? Like, you know, for blind people and all that, like, on how to read? Because, like, if she becomes the next mayor or governor or something of the Earth Kingdom, like, who's doing the reading for her? Like, I know that she'll know that they lie, so, like, that's the good part. But, like, well, I don't know. Again, I think that, like, if she has a seeing person, like, a person who can, like, read the contract for her and, you know, tell her what's on it, and then she knows that that person's saying the truth, then I guess that makes sense. Okay, you know what? That whole thing about, like, Toph being, you know, that was never really a disability for her, you know? It's just gave her much better sense with the earth and all that. That reminds me, I wrote this note for Bolin, and I just said, Bolin's out here really showing us that you can, in fact, get a job anywhere as long as you have connections. Because he's now Zhu Li's assistant, or at least, yeah, somewhere around there, like Zhu Li's assistant. He's the president's assistant. The president, the governor of Republic City and all that. Like, dude, this man has gone, okay. In Turf Wars, he was a police, then he quits, and now he's the president's assistant. And it's like, alright, do you really think Bolin could get, I mean, he probably could get Boover Stars, maybe, but like, do you think Bolin could, like, you know, go through all these other jobs, especially like getting to becoming a cop and then becoming the president's assistant if he hadn't known these people? Bolin's really out here, again, saying that you can do anything as long as you've got connections. So remember, y'all, make connections. Sometimes those connections will get you way further than a college degree, as sad as that sounds. Oh yeah, Mako got a sick-looking scar on his left arm. It's the result of him destroying Kuvira's mecha armor and all that. It's finally healed, because like in Turf Wars, he just had it on a sling the whole time. He's fighting criminals with one hand. Fucking good shit, dude. You think that with his broken arm, you would at least put him, like, in the office or something instead of making him a beat cop and having him go out and fight criminals. But hey, maybe they were just really spreading thin, you know? They didn't have enough cops and all that. I think they said that. I can't remember, actually, in Turf Wars. I think that's pretty much all of the other notes that I've written that isn't about Kuvira, because most of my notes here is about Kuvira. Without further ado, let's get into all of these Kuvira notes that doesn't involve her childhood. So we see her as she heads into court, and we have a little bit of monologue from her, right? She says that she yielded to the Avatar, she gave up her empire, she surrendered her freedom. The people she once considered family hates her, but that isn't enough for them. Now those in power wants to humiliate her, and that's how she sees the court system. And man, dude, Kuvira throughout this entire comic is such a fucking savage, and like, I love her. I love Kuvira. She's like my favorite character, especially after this. It is fantastic, dude. Like, we've got these fucking judges coming in to tell her about, like, her crimes against peace, all the aggressions and, again, crimes that she's done, right? Refusing to turn over emergency powers, numerous wars of aggression, presiding over having inhumane prison camps, and invading the United Republic, and also having a weapon of mass destruction. So they line up all of these shit about Kuvira, and I just love that Kuvira is just like, yo dog, I'm sorry for the harm I've caused for the people of the Earth Kingdom, but like, have you considered my achievements? Why are we just talking about all these bad things that I've done, alright? Can't we talk about my goddamn achievements? She's the one who brought back order. She dragged an ancient culture and out of the Dark Ages and modernized it. And, you know, everything she did was for the greater good. And when the judge to ask her, how do you plead? Kuvira's just like, not guilty. And I'm just sort of like, yo, dog, Kuvira really came in as just like, yeah, look, I apologize, alright? And like, I had good intentions, so I'm not guilty. After the fantastic court hearing, if I was in court and I was hearing that, you know, this person who's committed all these crimes, and then they just say, yeah, I'm not guilty, I'd be like, damn. I'd be kicked out of court because I showed a facial expression. Suyin goes after Kuvira, you know, after the court hearing and all that, telling her, what the hell are you talking about? Like, what do you mean not guilty? And Kuvira responds back with like, hey, you know, I know you I hurt you and your family, but you've all turned your backs on me long before the Earth Empire ever existed. That's a lie. I gave you a home. I provided for you. I was never a part of your family, was I? You attacked Zaofu, says Suyin. You almost killed my son. And then Kuvira's like, and I've apologized numerous times. When will you see through all your anger to forgive me? I'm just like, Kuvira, you're the fucking person who's angry. But I love it, dude. She's just like, look, I'm sorry I tried to kill your son, alright? I'm sorry I was trying to kill I ended up trying to fucking murk my fiance and whatnot. But I've apologized. Fucking get over it, Suyin. But Suyin says, that's what you don't get. Being sorry isn't enough. You need to take responsibility for what you've done. And that's basically what Kuvira does in the series, right? She takes responsibility, and that's why she ends up with, you know, house arrest. Hey, yo, you know what I said about Bolin and how you need to have connections? Kuvira got connections. She just gets house arrest. But, okay, just going, you know, a little bit, not off topic, but, you know, still here. I do agree in the fact that Kuvira should be under supervision and, like, you know, learn to rehabilitate and all that. I don't think it's all good for people who have done crimes to just sit and rot in a jail and, like, do nothing. You know, we saw when Korra goes to pick up Kuvira, she's just in the fucking jail cell doing absolutely nothing. Again, rotting away. So I'd rather Kuvira actually go and do something, and again, rehabilitate and, you know, become a better person, because she has shown to the world that she was willing to admit her mistake towards the end of all of this, you know, and that she took responsibility for it, and she fucking destroyed the rest of the empire. I do agree with, like, the whole sentences, but I do find it very funny that, like, she committed all these war crimes, and they're just like, house arrest. On another off-topic note, I have a bit of a bone to pick with Suyin. Kuvira says here, right, again, like, I know I hurt you and your family, but you turned your backs on me long before the Earth Empire ever existed. To which Kuvira was talking about the pivotal moment when the queen was killed and the Earth Kingdom was in chaos, and so Tenzin and Raiko? It's part of the United Nation, the United Republic and all that. They came to ask Suyin, hey, can you help us with, like, dealing with all this fucking chaos that is in the Earth Empire? You know, you have a good reputation and everything, and you've got a good army of just metal people, metal benders, I mean. So you could really help. And then Suyin is just over here like, wait, I don't want to shove my political stuff down other people's throats. I don't want to have to tell people what they should be thinking and all that. And I'm just over here thinking, like, I don't think they're asking you for that, Suyin. Like, they're literally asking you what Kuvira was doing, which is taking emergency power over the Earth Kingdom before handing it over to somebody else. You know, and like, it just pisses me off, because, like, that's literally the reason why Kuvira did this, because she felt like the Earth Kingdom was being abandoned, and she's just, and, you know, I think she said that towards the end of the show, right? Like, my parents abandoned me, I can't abandon the Earth Kingdom. Like, she was just doing her best to change the Earth Kingdom and make it better. Essentially, I kind of feel like that's what she learns from Suyin anyways, and that's why she felt hurt when Suyin turned her back from the Earth Kingdom. You know what really grinds my gear with this this part. The fact that Zahir admits to Korra about his fault in Kuvira's uprising, that he killed the Earth Queen without having a plan on what is to happen to the Earth Kingdom. He hadn't thought that Kuvira could become a worse dictator. Suyin, on the other hand, what does she say after she tells Korra about the rift between her and Kuvira? The reason Kuvira left and went on her mission. You can fix this by going into the Avatar state and demolish her army. Remove Kuvira from power once and for all. And when Korra tells Suyin that she could try and talk it out with Kuvira instead of fighting her, Suyin just tells her that Kuvira can't be reasoned with. And it's just like, damn dude, Suyin's really out here, just dropped Kuvira like that, which, you know, understandable. But I also still understand why Kuvira did this whole thing, and, you know, I genuinely feel like Suyin, you know, should have at least come to the understanding that a part of this comes from her action, you know? So Kuvira decides to get some of Suyin's army along with Batar Jr. to go help out the Earth Kingdom, and when Suyin finds that out, what does she do? She fucking banished them! She's just like, never set foot in here ever again, and it's just like, how do you know that she was going to do bad things? You know, it's just like, oh, you've defied my orders? Get the fuck out of here. And it's just like, again, like, I can see why Kuvira, it's just like, you turn your back on me. You know, you turn your back on the Earth Kingdom, and when I want to help out the Earth Kingdom, you turn your back on me and fucking tow me to GTFO and never come back again? You know, like, it really grinds my fucking gear, dude. Like, don't even get me started. Actually, no, I am getting started with, like, the whole relationship between Suyin and Lin. Really grinds my gear, dude, because what I feel from Suyin, because Suyin's just like, I've grown, I've matured, and when I see Suyin, it really feels like she hasn't really grown or matured. She's just really good at masking it. That's what I feel from Suyin. When Lin first arrived at the Meadow Clan, the city, I forgot what it's called technically, but she didn't want to see Suyin, understandable. So she was just gonna sit in the boat, the airship all day or whatever. But then Suyin finds out that Lin was in there, and instead of being like, okay, you know, my sister doesn't want to see me, we've been having a really bad relationship, we haven't been talking to each other for the past 20 years, whatever, you know, I'll give her some space and hopefully she'll come out whenever she wants to come out. But no, Suyin doesn't do that. She confronts Lin, literally gets her to a place where Lin can't escape, puts her right into a corner and just like, oh, I see you're here, sister. I don't like that, you know? I'm not a big fan of that. And then we've got, you know, the flashback between Lin and Suyin, and again, Lin went more towards Toph while Suyin went against Toph, and, you know, they're in like a battle of good and evil. And then we see that it was Suyin who caused the scar on Lin in the first place, which is like fucking big, dude. But somebody correct me on this, but did Suyin ever apologize to Lin for the scar? Because, like, the thing that kind of ticked me off a little bit was that Suyin would just tell Lin, like, hey, that's been years ago. I've grown up now. Why can't you just get over it? And she's just like, me and mom talked about it. If you had come when I invited you, we could have dealt with all this family issue. And it's just like, why do you think Lin doesn't want to fucking talk to you in the first place? You know? And like, I get the whole idea of like, I've changed, it's been years, but like, there's still some things that you should, you know, apologize for and whatnot. But whatever, you know, Lin and Suyin have they're talking with each other now, so that's good for them. I will say I was watching a reaction of this for this episode. I think I was watching Funny Lo Gal Reacts. She holds a very personal thing when it comes to sisters because she had lost her sister 20 years ago or 20 plus years ago, and you know, she would do anything to talk to her sister again. So she was very mad at Lin for not wanting to talk to her sister, knowing that she had a sister and she refused to talk to her for that many years. And like, I can definitely get that, but I'm also on like the opposite of that, where I don't have a good relationship with my sister. In fact, I have a non-existent relationship with my sister. Like, I know absolutely nothing about her. We lived in the same room for 10 plus years. And again, I know absolutely nothing about her because she doesn't talk to me. And whenever she does talk to me, it's like very mean things or things that she's forcing me to do. So I understand Lin's side of the story, and like, I'm the type of person who would be very happy to never have to talk to my sister again. So again, on one side, I definitely understand why, you know, a person who loves their sister, even if they have like a fighting relationship and all that, would be mad at Lin. But like, I'm on Lin's side. I'm even like, if Lin didn't want to fucking talk to Suyin for the rest of her life, fuck it. Maybe Lin would still feel a little sad about that. Obviously, it's still affecting her. Like, for me, it would not affect me at all, like, not talking to my sister. In fact, I'd feel even worse if I had to talk to her. But yeah, that's just a bit of a bone that I had to pick with Suyin. I feel like I've forgotten something else, but I've kind of been mulling over it for days now, so, you know, if I have anything else to say about Suyin, I'll write it in the description. Anyways, back to my notes. We had the moment where Korra talks to Kuvira, and Kuvira tells Korra that she's going to need her, and Korra decides, against everybody's wishes, although they kind of come on board afterwards, because, like, they were talking to each other, they were all in the steam room, just, you know, chilling together and all that. So when Korra suggests that they bring Kuvira along with them to help stop Commander Guan, everybody airs out Kuvira's dirty laundries, right? Starting with Bolin, who says, "Kuvira's the worst. She threatened my life more than once." And Mako says, "I almost lost my arm, taking out her mecha giant's engine." Then it's Yuri, who says she nearly destroyed Republic City. Then Asami, who says she killed my father. She was our enemy. And then we just have Wu, who's just like, "Let's not forget how she ruined my coronation." That's the worst crime of all, dude. Oh, you know what? That reminds me. Goddamn, dude, I'm everywhere. But the one part where Kuvira said she brought the ancient culture out of the Dark Age and modernized it, it makes sense on why she didn't want to relay the power back to Wu, because she knows that all of this effort that she's made, once she hands it over to Wu, it would just crumble. It would just go right back to this monarchy, and Kuvira did not want to do anything with it. And, you know, on a good point, with Kuvira saying that, no, you're not gonna be the King Wu, and, you know, putting him through all this whole spiel, at the very least, it made Wu open up his eyes and realize that, yeah, you know, the monarchy's not a good idea after all. Let's just have a democracy instead. So, you know, I like the negative stuff from Kuvira, but like, at least that was a positive output, am I right? But with the crew airing out their grievances towards Kuvira, but ultimately deciding that if this is what Korra thinks is best, then they're going to support her in this idea. And so Kuvira gets taken out, and I wrote in my notes, it just says Kuvira is very cooperative with Korra. She was. She has like a little smile and everything. I just love the part where she comes in, like everybody's frowning at her, and like she was sitting with like the boys, and she just like, "Hello there, gentlemen." And like, they didn't respond to her. I just find it so funny, dude, because this whole time, like, once you read it through, like, the second time, you know, the second, third time, you realize that, yeah, Kuvira is very cooperative. She, for the most part, you know, follows orders. And again, she's just out here trying to do good. It's just that she just keeps choosing violence a lot of the times. She had some other moments where she sees the loyalty between Asami, Bolin, and Mako, their loyalty for Korra, and she's just like, wow, you know, it must be really nice to have people who are on your side and all that. You know, I've never had people this loyal to me before, you know, and I'm just like, you know, that is kind of sad. But like, the crew dismisses it because they don't fucking trust her. And like, I mean, look, I even felt that during my first read, and how like, wow, Kuvira is very cooperative, but like, I was thinking like, did she have like some sort of other sort of more ulterior motive? Because you can't fully trust her because of all the crimes that she's done, and she can't just be like, oh, I've changed now. And I can't remember who said it. I don't think it was Suyin, or was it Asami, who told Kuvira that changing isn't something that happens overnight, right? It has to be something that it ends up happening gradually. And I mean, that is what Kuvira ends up doing, right? She changes gradually during the story. I don't know why I'm stumped on whether I want to say series or story or a comic. Because when I want to say series, I feel like I mean, when I say series, I'm referring to like the entire Legend of Korra series, but I'm just trying to talk about the comics anyways. I need to stop rambling. Oh yeah, I did write in my notes that says, I think that taking Kuvira out might be a bad idea, but we'll have to see. Like, even I didn't have, like, all that much trust in Kuvira, but eventually, like, halfway through, I started to realize, I think Kuvira is trying to be good, trying to be genuinely good, but again, it's just the way that she is, and it was really hard for her to get out of it all the way until, like, towards the end. And we've got all these times where Kuvira is saying the truth, like when Korra and Wu left for the swamp in order to go find Toph, Commander Guan and his armies is like, all right, time to attack these folks. And Kuvira figured out that Commander Guan was about to attack. She's like, you need to get me out of here right now so I can help you guys. And Asami and the others just like, oh, don't lie to us, Kuvira. They end up getting fucking ambushed and, like, caught. and Asami, still very much aggressive towards Kuvira, and again, very understandable why she did that. Kuvira literally splatted her dad like a fucking fly. Asami sitting there, tied up with Bolin and Mako, is just like, oh, I see, so this is your plan, huh? Waiting for Korra to leave? And Kuvira's just like, no, you fucking morons, I'm not the one who does this. So Commander Guan captures them, and he puts Asami, Mako, and Bolin on the brainwashing device, and Kuvira later on mentions that she has a good memory, so she's just like over here looking at all these technology, and like she just figures it out immediately, and like later on when she meets up with Bataar Jr. again, she just tells him all the things that he needs to rebuild it, and I'm just like, holy shit, dude. Like, again, great memory, but like, you can see how great her memory is, that she remembers all these specific detail about that machine, and again, it goes back to like how Kuvira has a really good memory, and that makes her remember more of her painful childhood than, most people. Like, tell me of all the things that you remember about your childhood, and then try to remember all, like, the bad things that your brain might be repressing, because, you don't want to think about it, but Kuvira has a great memory, so that means that she's really reliving these memories. And it's just sad. Anyways, Bolin, Mako, and Asami gets brainwashed, and they don't really get unbrainwashed until, like, towards the end. Although, Asami got caught first. Okay, you know what, I'm a little bit all over the place, but Kuvira ends up running away. She was very good at disguising and then running away and taking all that time, and then she ends up calling Suyin for support, even though Suyin's just over here not believing Kuvira either, but in the end, she ends up going anyways, and kind of like later on with Oppo following Suyin with her, Oppo would tell Suyin, why do you have such a soft spot on her? And I kind of already said that, right? In the way that Kuvira reminds Suyin of herself. And also, Suyin wanted a family, and so she has like this big family and all that, so and especially like the idea of like abandoning her kids, I don't think she would want that, because maybe that's why she felt with like Toph, like the Toph gave her a little bit too much freedom and not enough mom time, so maybe she felt abandoned. Well, I mean, and again, that's why the whole thing of like Suyin wants a big family and all that. Some stuff happens, and Korra, Wu, Toph, and Kuvira reunites. Obviously, Korra doesn't believe Kuvira when she says, yeah, so Commander Guan kidnapped your friends. And Korra's just like, what the fuck did you do, Kuvira? But good thing Toph was there. She's the truth seer. Anyways, she's able to tell that Kuvira is telling the truth. So, like, thank God that there is somebody in this fucking comic who actually knows that Kuvira is saying the truth without any doubt. Suyin and the Metal Clan comes to pick them up, but Korra says that she's not leaving without her friends, so she decides to stay back to fight a little bit. Kuvira decides to help her, good stuff, and the Metal Clan is just over here like, I thought we were just getting you guys out of here, but I guess we're gonna have to fight. So they fight, they get their ass kicked, especially Oppo, because she doesn't want to hurt Bolin, but Bolin's just out here, nah dog, I'm throwing rocks at you. But they did manage to get Asami back with the trade-off of Wu being kidnapped, because Commander Guan had also brainwashed, like, the people working on the ship, I think, so they just fucking took him out, just like that. Fucking easy peasy. So, yeah, Asami is there. She's, she thinks that Korra is the enemy, so she's saying a lot of hurtful words to Korra, but Korra, being mature and all that, knows that this isn't Asami, and just dismisses her words, these hurtful words. So they head on over to the Meadow City, the name that I still can't remember for some reason, and Kuvira meets up with Batara Jr., and it is so funny, dude. Batara Jr. comes out and he's just like, I just wanted to see if you've changed or not, but it doesn't look like you've changed. Kuvira tells him, hey, I know that I've hurt you, and I was very hurt when I had to let you go during that time too, but you have to understand, if you were me in that position, you would have done the same thing. And Batara Jr. is just like, aim a fucking weapon of mass destruction at my fiance? What the fuck? I love it, dude, because Kuvira is still in that moment of just like, yo, dog, I've apologized. So, like, forgive me, bro. But Kuvira eventually starts to figure out that, you know, asking for forgiveness, apologizing isn't enough, right? She has to actually take responsibility and do all these stuff. So when she helped Batara Jr. rebuild this brainwashing machine, and they I thought I was talking about laundry for a second there, but they needed a subject to test the brainwashing machine, and Korra was going to volunteer, but they didn't want to have to mess up her brain, because, like, they're still experimenting on all of this. So Kuvira takes in the volunteer position and she goes in. And then that's when we see another part of her childhood. I think that was the one with Oppo, I believe. But with Kuvira deciding to take the volunteer position, you know, people start to think, maybe Kuvira is trying to change. You know, she's taking this risk. This is a big risk of, like, scrambling her memories and everything. But they figure out how to reverse the brainwashing, and so they do that onto Asami. They did get this point where, like, they just took Asami into a room and they just let her stay there. And I was thinking to myself, like, you know, maybe Asami could figure out how to get out of there, but surprisingly, she was obedient. For, like, I guess because she's, like, being brainwashed, and so she didn't really have any orders from Commander Guan, so that's why she's just kind of chilling and not doing anything. But, like, I did think it was funny, because I wrote in my notes, I'm like, wouldn't Asami just fucking escape from this room? Like, where are they? Unless, like, they pounded in, like, with metal or something and she can't escape because, you know, haha, non-bender out here. But Asami gets unbrainwashed, and we had this one scene where Asami is talking to Korra about, like, oh, did I say anything hurtful towards you? And again, Korra, being the mature one, is just like, look, I know that you didn't mean it. You were just brainwashed, and that's it. So anyways, come on to bed. Come on to bed. And at that point, I was just like, yo, was Korra and Asami about to get down? Like, what? You know, maybe they were just gonna do a little cuddling, I don't know. But Korra was a little upset when Suyin knocked on the door to tell them that that Kuvira's gone, you know? Korra hears the knock on the door, she's just like, who is it now? Before all of that, we had a talk with Julie, who told them that they should not try to do anything else, even if they try to show that the people are brainwashing. It's a little bit too far now. The election is, like, starting because they brainwashed Wu, and they're getting him to start the election early and whatnot. So yeah, Julie just told them, leave them alone, we'll figure out later. Can you get Kuvira back to the prison? Thanks. And Kuvira is just like, well, if I'm going back to jail anyways, I might as well fucking start some chaos. And so she fucking steals an airplane and she flies right to where Commander Guan is. And Korra figures that that's where she was gonna go, so they have to go and follow her. And Kuvira does all of this masking, and she's just, like, pretending that she wants to join them, and she knows that the only way Commander Guan would allow her to join back in is to just brainwash her. The things that she says there, right, it does feel genuine, and it kind of goes to that whole idea of her parents don't think that she has any remorse, or even, like, Oppo, who's just like, she's just a stray dog, not even her parents want her, and all that. So Kuvira tells Commander Guan that she wants to forget. She wants to forget how she nearly lost her temper and nearly killed her own mother, which I would presume she's not talking about Suyin, but, like, her actual mother, but which would then make it very understandable why her dad took her on that car and, like, drove her to the fucking Metal City, you know, because it's like, okay, you tried to kill my wife? You ungrateful child, get out of here. So if that's the reason why she got turned to the Metal Clan, understandable. Anyways, she says that she wants to forget the Beifongs and her life in Zaofu, all those painful memories. But most of all, she says, I want to wipe away the memory of all those I've hurt. I believe you have the technology that can help me with that. Okay, so wiped out all the memories, just, you know, become a mindless zombie and not have to worry about all the pain and everything. And again, I know that here she's saying these stuff to get Commander Guan on her side, or to get Commander Guan to take her to the brainwashing machine so she can just brainwash them instead. A good lie is a lie with truth mixed within, right? It makes it really hard to figure out whether it's actually a truth or a lie or not. And so I feel like that's what Kuvira had done, where she is lying about, like, I want to forget about my memories, but like she actually means it when she feels that hurt that she's done, all these pain that she's caused other people. Commander Guan takes her to the brainwashing machine, and she was going to brainwash them, which I thought, again, very funny. But Commander Guan had an idea that she was going to do this, so she had Bolin and Mako there ready to attack her, and then, you know, chaos ensues. We just see Kuvira running out of the camp. Korra and Suyin over, they're just like, oh shit, there she is, alright, we gotta get in there and help her. So, have all this big fight, and we kind of had an idea that Commander Guan couldn't fight her in the first place, like she is so much of a better fighter than he is. It's just that he's a little bit more cunning than her. But with them on a one-on-one fight, Kuvira fucking tears his shit up, and she was about to just murder him, you know? Commander Guan's over like, please, I give up, I'm sorry. And Kuvira's like, I'll make sure that you'll never get another chance to apologize. But Suyin comes in, right? Tells her, hey, violence is not the answer. It's not gonna make you happy. It's not gonna give you that satisfaction. In that moment, Kuvira thinks to herself, and she's just like, you know what? You're right. Because perhaps after all these other times in her childhood that she's, you know, committed violence, right? Has that ever made her feel better? Has that gotten her has that actually gotten her to actually have a better relationship with her newfound family and whatnot, right? And so I would assume that's what she's thinking about. Like, again, all these times she's done things by force, committed violence, she always ends up feeling a lot angrier or remorseful for it. So I like that. This is the turning point for Kuvira, right? She got the Earth Empire, the Earth Kingdom, to stand down, Commander Guan to stand down, telling everybody to stand down, and I would presume he brainwashed most of his soldiers, so that's why when he said stand out, everybody thought, I mean, also because, you know, he's the leader position and all that, but we had this point in the beginning, right, when Kuvira, I totally forgot to talk about the point where Kuvira was like, hey, Korra, I can help you out, and so when she's there to help Korra out, she just starts fucking strangling Guan. And like Asami had to shock her with like the belt. I thought that was very funny. They're just like, we shouldn't have brought Kuvira. Before she went and choked Guan, she did try to get her army to be like, hey, stand down, you know, I was your former leader. But then the whole army is just like, no, we like Commander Guan. And so that kind of me thinking, like, did he already brainwash them at that point? Because, like, he brainwashed everybody, basically. I'm still trying to think about, like, how they were so good on this. They were just kidnapping a bunch of people and then brainwashing them. And, like, nobody knows a thing. Like, they were just like, yeah, overnight, these people, they're just like, they're just like a big support of Commander Guan for some reason. I mean, the Earth Kingdom is technically still tattered and everything. You know, they don't even have, like, an official government, so I guess that makes sense. Towards the end, we have another court hearing, but this time we have Kuvira with not messy hair. You know, her hair is actually all tied up and everything. She looks a lot cleaner than she was in her first court hearing. And she basically lines out all of the crimes that she's done, and she gives out her reasons, right? She wanted to change the Earth Kingdom so badly, or change, I wanted so badly to wield power and change the world. I didn't concern myself with the consequences, right? Again, her biggest crime of all, negligence. And so in the end, she pleads guilty, right? She's going to do the time for her crimes. And Bolin is continuing to stay as stay as the assistant to President Julie, or President Moon, technically. Everybody's there waiting for Kuvira. You know, they all got a piece to say to her about how she redeemed herself, you know, like, maybe we could forgive you. Even Asami, who's just like, yeah, you know, it's gonna take me a very long time to forgive you for fucking killing my dad, but at least you're on our side. Oh, you know, at least Suyin apologized to Kuvira. You know, apologizing that she couldn't help but to think that she had, if she had been a better mentor, a better mother, she could have guided Kuvira on a more appropriate path. To which Kuvira just says, like, nah, Doug, you know, you took me in when I was abandoned, and again, despite being an absolute low shit, you never abandoned me, and I like that in terms of, like, their relationship. You know, I'm just a big sucker for newfound families and all that. But I still blame Suyin for not fucking stepping up, alright? Again, she didn't need to shove her fucking politics down people's throats, she just needed to bring order. And then she could have gotten somebody else to be elected, or, you know, get King Wu on the throne, and then nothing will fucking change. Maybe then Kuvira would have been like, you know, maybe we shouldn't turn over to King Wu, maybe. But, as I said, it's always good to have connections, and since Kuvira has Suyin as her connection, Suyin convinced the President Moon and the Tribunal, which I assume are the judges, to let her be released under Suyin's custody. She is going to get house arrest as her punishment. Woo! Congrats, you know, congrats. And that concludes Ruins of the Empire. Man, Again, I love this. I love this comic. I love Kuvira's, you know, changing. I love her backstory and everything. I just want more comics, you know? If I had to read comics, alright, because, like, I'm a manga reader, alright? I read more mangas, and I specifically read Yuri mangas a lot more than I do comics, if I ever read comics, to which I don't read comics, right? The only other comics that I thought about reading, and I thought that I actually am interested in, is the Injustice series. That's, like, the only other comics that I really enjoy. By the way, if you ever want to talk to me about DC stuff, the only thing that I know a lot most of the time is Injustice. That's, like, the only universe that I actually really enjoy. But thank you guys for sticking around for this long video. I did have a bad idea that if I was going to do Turf Wars and Ruins of the Empire at the same time, dude, this video would be so fucking long. I'm so glad that I split this into 2 parts. But I appreciate you for being here. If you're still here, you know, you haven't clicked off or anything. And if I have anything else to say, I'll write in the description down below. Thank you guys for sticking around, and I will see you guys in the next video. Nah, there's no videos. There's no more after this, actually, so it's no more. Don't subscribe, you know. Don't subscribe, you're expecting more content. Like, just stop. Stop right now. Get out the video.